So what are classes anyway? And we talk about them in D&D, and other games have them as well because they kind of copied D&D. In that, I mean, that's the great thing about role-playing games, I have to say, is that D&D started the field, but then Tunnels and Trolls comes along, and just you get game after game after game that copied and changed and changed and copied because at some point somebody wasn't satisfied with something that was within the system. And classes are one of those things that I'm kind of out to lunch on. I would actually lean towards the dissatisfied with them because I like the idea of, for example, a wizard who can wear chainmail, carry a sword and a staff, but has a sword on his hip. That's just, to me, makes a little more sense that somebody could do that. Why would armor stop you from being able to cast spells? But regardless, what a class is something that is a group of traits that explain what the character can do. Because, I mean, that's ultimately what a role-playing game is about. What can my character do in this world and move forward? What can my character do? So, if you just start with the fighter, let's take the fighter for this episode and just talk about the fighter. The fighter is somebody who wields a sword, a spear. Incidentally, historically, the spear was even more ubiquitous than the sword. Sword was almost a sidearm. The spear was much more commonly used by, in an adventurer would probably most definitely have a spear. If you want to see a really good video on that, check out the Shadiversity video on the best loadout for a fantasy adventurer, because they would have the spear for mid-range things, the bow that they would carry for long-range things. So that's another thing a fighter can do, is they can be an archer. They could be an archer and a spearman, and they could be an archer or spearman and have a great sword on their side, so that way they can clear things up close. Because of a lot of things, especially when you're first starting out, you're starting out against goblins and kobolds and rats and things like that, things that are designed to be relatively easy to beat. But as a fighter, you're going to have a few more hit points than the wizard. And I played wizard back when you got to roll a d4, and if you were lucky, you got a 4, so you had 4 hit points. And you were incredibly squishy, and your spells ran out really quick. I'll get to that in another video. But the fighter starts out decently capable of handling themselves. And they can easily lead the party. They can easily help the party and defend other party members. They can use shields. They can use heavier armors. But they do get to get better at armors as they get better. So there are a lot of good things about fighters. But fighters on the whole kind of plateau and don't really change much after a certain point of their development.